So I've been using the latest Plasma 5.18 version for the past couple days, and all I can say is that it's amazing, and I figured I really want to make a video about this. And initially I wanted to make a video talking about really making a review about the latest version, but I figured if I'm going to make a review, I'll let it be fair, and I'm going to make a review of the official software once it's released, and not just some testing software with bugs. So really what this video is about is a message to the KDE team, and that is that the direction that the team and Plasma is taking is definitely the right direction. It's a right step into making Plasma more modern, more intuitive, and really just more sought out. And I think that there are a lot of great improvements that have come in this latest version, and it's only going to get better from here. But I think that there are things that the team members have to keep in mind and not get off track in order to keep improving on it. So of course there are a lot of good stuff, but there are some criticisms here and there. So the first criticism I want to talk about is this plugin manager here. And this is for the wallpaper. So I don't know what it's called. I'm just going to call in the plugin manager because you can download whether it's new wallpapers or Plasma themes or icons, whatever. So it kind of has, it has an overhaul of the previous version. I mean, it looks certainly different. You have this version that focuses on the preview. It gives you a big, nice preview of whether it's a wallpaper or theme is, and then you have one that's more compact, more condensed, that just has a small preview with just the name, and then the other one that has more of a focus on the details. Now I think that the main issue is that you can't really resize this. I mean, you can make it bigger, but you can't make this manager smaller. Or window. You can't really make this window smaller, and I think this is kind of a problem for people who are using a smaller resolution or on a laptop. Like I'm on a laptop right now, and I'm using my resolution is quite low, 1766 by 768, I believe, and being able to resize this would be much appreciated. Now I think that this doesn't really like oversized type look doesn't really fit Plasma that much, because I feel like GNOME, it reminds me of GNOME, because when I use GNOME, everything's just so oversized, like the GNOME shell and everything, whereas in Plasma, everything is more condensed, I feel like. And just having this take up so much space, I don't know, I personally think that if this was condensed a little bit, it would be better. And I think that the best way to condense it is probably the details here. Like, I'm not talking about like cramming everything together, but having less white space, and just maybe reorganizing this. Maybe if you could, maybe if the title and creator could be listed here somewhere, and then the description could be listed like below that could look better. But I don't know. I mean, I just think that it could certainly look better if it were to give you the option to condense it a bit more. But apart from that, it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I think it's an improvement from the previous one. Now, I think that the thing that makes Plasma 5.18 so great is the fact that it focuses on consistency, and I really do think that users want a consistent experience. Now, one thing that GNOME offers, I guess, is like an easier, I guess more limiting, but an easier theming, like style of theming, because you just apply a theme and it applies to everything. Whereas for Plasma, it's a bit more difficult. You have your Plasma style, application style, colors, all these types of stuff, right? And I think that the Plasma team has definitely taken a step forward, into making this into making this a more consistent experience. And I think that this is really important, because if there's anything that I've learned from theming my KDE desktop so many times, it's that I prefer consistency. I prefer one global, universal, good theme, as opposed to just a bunch of user themes that, they might be nice, but they're not fully supported. There's always some sort of glitches or bugs or whatever. Another thing, going back to this menu here, is it has this categories thing, which is very useful for the wallpapers, but for the Plasma themes, not so much so, because you only have one option, and that is Plasma themes. And I believe all of these are Plasma themes. So one thing that could be added, if it's possible, I don't know if this is possible, if all of these themes have tags somehow or not, but if just how you could categorize them into light, dark, and color scheme compatible themes, which this is a very nice filter. If it has a category here to be able to search for those to install, that would be nice as well. But before I get into the Breeze evolution, the direction in which Breeze has been taking and improving, I just want to talk about Nightlight really quickly. Now, I think that this is a really good feature, and I love how the settings here have been improved. It's almost complete in my personal opinion. The one thing I think it misses is another option here, and that is having a general color temperature, I guess a daytime temperature, because it's nice to be able to set your nighttime temperature, but I do think that it misses the option to set the daytime one as well, because for me personally, I think my option I checked somehow, it was either 5,500 or 6,000 or something like that, and I would personally rather have it during the daytime be 5,000. So if that could be added, that would basically make this feature complete in my opinion. But apart from that, it's really good, and I really like and appreciate the fact that it has this feature. Now going back to Breeze. So I'm going to talk about my thoughts on Breeze, where it is right now, and where I would like to see it going forward. So as you can see here, I have this Mac OS type layout with the panel at the top, the applications at the bottom. I'm going to showcase and talk about the defaults more in the official release and review. But right here, I really want to talk about 3 different Plasma styles. Okay, so right now, currently, I'm using Breeze Transparent. Now, I personally prefer this over the default Breeze, and the only reason why is because it's just slightly more transparent. I think it's 70 or 80% transparent, and that's why I chose such a colorful and vibrant wallpaper to showcase the transparency. And you can see that it looks very nice. And it's not too transparent to the point where you can't see the main color of the panel. Like, you can still see that the main color of the panel is definitely overpowering. But this, having it be slightly more transparent, it really allows to showcase the blur effect. And I know not everyone uses blur, but I think that for people who love the blur effect, it definitely helps showcase it more, because this one, despite having such a colorful and vibrant wallpaper, you can't really see the blur. And so my suggestion isn't to lower the opacity settings by default. It's to perhaps incorporate something similar to what Breeze Alpha Black is doing. And what it's doing is it has a widget that allows you to adjust the opacity of pop-ups, the panel, and widgets. Now, I think that all of these should be condensed into just one setting because, well, I do believe users prefer consistency, and I just don't see why you would want your panel to be at 80% and pop-ups to be at whatever, like 5%. But I think that having an opacity option would make the default Breeze perfect. I mean, having these options here is nice to be able to adjust the colors to whatever you want it to, but what's the point? I think that consistency is best in what most users want, and having to enter these values manually, it's quite of a hassle. So it's a lot easier for the theme to just follow the color scheme, right? So that's why I think that the default Breeze theme is just missing an opacity option. And I think it would definitely help a lot to allow users to adjust the opacity. Apart from that, the icons and the style is awesome. But there's another gripe, I guess I have, or suggestion to improve on the consistency, and that is if you take a look at the highlight here, or the highlight from the menus, or even from the global menu here, you can see that it's a solid color of blue. Whereas and this is in the default theme as well, if you open up the menu, or if you're trying to adjust settings or whatever, as you can see, the highlight is different. It has a border color around the edges, and it just looks, the style itself is different. And there's definitely a discontinuity between the style presented here and here. And I think that if either this style or this style of highlighting, highlighting options or whatever is used, I think that would be great. It would definitely improve things to be more consistent. And in a good way to, I guess, represent this consistency is I believe the Materia plasma theme. Let me just download it really quickly. I think that this theme has exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just going to install just a random version, and I'm going to switch to it. And one thing that you can notice is that the highlight is solid. Now, it doesn't really follow the color scheme. There is actually a version that does, but that doesn't matter. As you can see, the highlight is solid, just like the highlight presented here and everywhere else. So I think that that's one thing that should be considered, to improve consistency. Going into the application style, I just really, really appreciate and like what has been going on with theming GNOME applications, and really just the way GNOME applications, or well, not GNOME, GDK applications are presented. As you can see, this looks much better and much more native. It even has the shadows behind it, and it's just way better in comparison to the way that these applications looked in the past. And this is an application, a theme that a different theme that I installed is this one. But one thing that I really like even more, and also you don't really have to change the cursor or the icon theme or whatever. It follows the default one by default. And I think that's what users would want anyway. So another thing that's great is, even though this isn't the Blur theme, or not Blur, Breeze theme, is that the colors, if I switch to a dark theme, the colors are now, and this just shows how consistent everything is now. The theme applies, the colors apply not only to the default Plasma Qt applications, but it also applies even if you have a different custom GDK theme, the colors still apply. That is amazing. And if you use the default or any theme that is color scheme compatible, it changes as well. This is awesome. This is amazing. I really, really appreciate how you can go from an all-around dark theme to an all-around light theme at the click of a button. This is awesome. I just really love the consistency. And one thing that would be nice is having an option to present a different, what is the word? Complementary color. So I have the Vimix color scheme. I personally prefer this over the default Breeze themes. I just think I really like the default Breeze theme. It's really nice. It has a very nice blue color to it, but the dark theme isn't as appealing. And the reason why, I guess, is I just feel that a light complementary color being such a light blue just doesn't fit. I feel like if it turns darker, it would fit the dark theme, but that's just personal taste. Again, that's the whole point of having these other color schemes and created your own, you know. If you want a specific color scheme, you could just make your own. But I think that having the option to choose these complementary colors from blue to green to red to yellow, whatever, would be a great feature. But apart from that, I really like being able to just choose a specific color scheme and everything consistently changes. That's awesome. For the icons, the only reason why I don't use the default Breeze icons is because of the applications. I really like the folder icons, the MIME types, everything. Obviously, that also just fits the whole, theme and direction or philosophy, I guess, of Breeze, right? Maybe I'm not describing it well. Like, basically, the representation of Breeze. I'm sure it has a specific vision and focus that it's going for. You know, I mean, the icons are more consistent here in the menu and whatnot as well. But I just think that the application icons, and they're obviously not all changed because I have to reset, just log out and log back in. But I can see why they can't really adjust the applications, you know, due to legal reasons and whatnot. If that were to be an option, that would be great. But sadly, it's not. So that's why, for now, I'm just going to use the Papyrus icon theme. I mean, I think the icon theme, the default icon theme is great. Again, if only the applications could be changed maybe a bit more. Maybe just, I don't know, like add a bit more flavor to them. It would be great. But again, I do acknowledge the fact that there are most likely restrictions. As for the cursor theme, I love it. I think that the default cursor themes are really good. And apart from that, I really think that as a whole, again, it just, the entire direction that Breeze and the way Plasma looks has been taking is great. One more thing, actually, is I think that if you were to create a pop-up like this, I think that having the pop-ups be centered every single time would be good. And I really like how simple this is. Let's see where, if I could show an example of this, perhaps in Discover, maybe. But if you were to, or maybe not, maybe in the system settings, if you were to open up a dialog, now I can't really show an example, unfortunately, but if you were to open up a dialogue or something like that, it's not always centered. And I think if there is a way for it to remember that, let's see in startup and shutdown, like get new login screens. I don't know. Maybe this is a bit too much, but all I think is that if these pop-ups like this are centered in accordance to the application, the parent application, or if they're always centered in the middle of the screen, it would look better. But that's just the small stuff, you know. But yeah, apart from that, I can't really think of anything else. I'm sure this video is already drawn out. But yeah, all I just want to say is thank you for everything that you do in terms of the desktop, in terms of just the software in general. Oh, actually, I do have, I think, example. See, if you open a dialog like this, I think if it gets centered in accordance to the parent application, in this case Kate, or if it's centered in the middle of the screen, I think that would just add even more consistency and make it look even better. But again, that's just small details. But I do think that small details, you know, are really important in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, KDE Team, thank you very much, you know, for the great software that you make and everything. I'm starting to lose my voice because I've been talking for a while now. I don't know how long this video is, but yeah, definitely gonna continue being a fan of KDE Plasma, and this was just my message and suggestions and rant, I guess, on the current state of the Breeze theme and everything, and the future of it. So that was it. Thanks for watching, and yeah, see you in the next video.